It's almost like it's an annual tradition for a shocking trade in the NBA, and we got another one yesterday. Yahoo Sports Daily, Caroline Fenton, I'm Jason Fitz. JAYLEN BROWN, no longer a Boston Celtic, which frankly most of us expected. What most of us didn't expect was that he would end up yesterday a Philadelphia 76er, traded to a rival. And just when you thought, okay, well, that must mean that they got some massive haul in return. They got 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and Paul George. On a day where the 76ers fan base rejoiced and Celtics fans were pulling their hair out, Caroline, what did you make of it?
I can't. I can't make of it. I can't make it make sense. What? Like, what is going on? What in the world is Brad Stevens thinking with this move? Because we have talked so much about the absolute haul that JAYLEN BROWN should command in return. Like, we heard reports of the Celtics asking for 4 first-round picks in return for JAYLEN BROWN. And frankly, even though that is an absolute haul, I thought that was appropriate. We're talking about JAYLEN BROWN, all-NBA player, finished 6th in MVP voting this past season. He was a finals MVP. I mean, JAYLEN BROWN is 29 years old. And what do you get in return? A couple of picks and Paul George? Paul George is like a million years old. Paul George is just a guy in the NBA right now. Like, this would be a great move, 10 years ago? Maybe? So I just don't understand the thought process here. The return is a head-scratching. And to do it with the Sixers, because today, the Sixers are a significantly better basketball team than they were yesterday. And the Celtics are a significantly worse basketball team than they were yesterday. So why is this a move that Boston would make? And I keep trying to find somebody to help me make sense of this, because sometimes there are trades where I don't get it or I don't agree with it. And then somebody can explain it to me from their perspective. And I can say, okay, well, I still don't agree with it, but I see where you're coming from. I can see the gears turning a little bit. I have yet to find somebody make sense of this trade. I have yet to find somebody to tell me that, no, Brad Stevens is playing chess, not checkers. Maybe you can, Fitzy, because I do not get it at all. The Celtics are in a championship window right now. Talk about the Celtics a couple years removed from a championship. The Celtics with Jason Tatum coming back and healthy. The Celtics squarely in a go-for-it, win-it-all mode. And you get Paul George in return? I don't get it, Fitzy. Help me. Help me with this.
Well, I can't, but I can tell you this. So let me take all emotion out, because my first reaction has been visceral, just like yours. This feels like one of the stupidest trades we've seen since, I don't know, we just saw an incredibly stupid trade by the Mavericks of Luka Doncic. But I will say this. If we apply take all emotion out of it, just go overly logical. Think of some of the reports that I've seen over the course of the last 24 hours. Shams has been very careful in reporting that the Celtics got what the best offer was that they could get, that they've been shopping JAYLEN BROWN and the offers are getting worse and worse and worse. So I have to ask myself, do I suddenly believe Brad Stevens became an incompetent manager of a basketball operation? I don't. So do I believe that they had 20 other better offers and they sat around and said, you know what, we're going to take this really crappy offer that makes our team worse and we're going to give a player to a rival? I don't. I think there is a statement being made here by the Celtics. Number one, of this is the best we can get. We've shopped him everywhere. They did, according to multiple reports, offer JAYLEN BROWN and 2 first-round picks for Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Bucks said, no thanks. So you can't do anything about the fact that you may want something in return, and the rest of the league says, no thanks. According to multiple reports, as you mentioned, the Celtics were asking for 2, 3, 4 first-round picks, and everybody said, no thanks. So at some point, you look around and say, okay, well, we're not going to give JAYLEN BROWN an extension this month. We want JAYLEN BROWN out of the building because we no longer want to deal with whatever this is between Brown and Tatum and the organization. Now it's gotten so public that he's being shopped. We can't bring him back into the building. And we're so comfortable letting him go, despite the very resume that you mentioned, Caroline, very smartly. We're so comfortable letting him walk that we'll let him go to Philadelphia, knowing we got to play him 4 times a year and we got to get through him every single time in the playoffs. The Celtics made a statement about what they think of JAYLEN BROWN in this trade. Now, Does that make it a trade that makes sense to me? No, but I don't believe that Brad Stevens suddenly got bad at his job. So I am trying to at least pump the brakes and see the other side on it. That being said, it's hard, Caroline, to see the other side of this because I feel like Philadelphia just got better. I don't think the Sixers just got better. I think they got a hell of a lot better. This is the most aggressive move we've seen all offseason, including Giannis to Miami. And I think it makes Philly today better than Giannis is in Miami. I think this makes Philly one of, if not the best teams in the East. And it makes Philly an absolute title contender. I'm higher on JAYLEN Brown than I feel like the rest of the world is. We've just become so analytics driven. I don't know that anybody is just using their eyeballs to remember what we just saw from JAYLEN Brown for an entire season and what we've seen from him over and over and over again.
And look, I'm with you. I hear you on I don't believe that Brad Stevens just got bad at his job overnight. I also don't believe that JAYLEN Brown got bad at his job overnight. Because I look at Philly, with VJ Edgecombe going in with an entire season under his belt, Tyrese Maxey, JAYLEN Brown, and I know that this is a really big if, but if Joel Embiid can stay healthy enough and play at a certain level consistently enough, I think Philadelphia can be a championship contender. I put them right up there with the New York Knicks as legitimate contenders in the East. So I see this working. Like I view the Sixers as far more championship contenders today than I did yesterday. And I view the Celtics as now kind of dropping into the middle of the East and just kind of floating in Eastern Conference purgatory. But I hear you on that Brad Stevens needed to take the best offer out there. And I don't think he's an incompetent GM. I do believe, though, that he handled this situation with some incompetence. Because maybe this was the best offer on the market. Maybe Brad Stevens just had to take what was available. But he also put himself and the organization in this position to where the best offer was Paul George and a couple of first-round picks. It's just frankly not good enough. Because the Celtics were dangling JAYLEN Brown publicly in the Giannis sweepstakes. They weren't willing to part with Hugo Gonzalez in the process, so they miss out on Giannis. I don't think it's a hot take to say better player than Paul George. So when the Celtics missed out on Giannis, I thought, okay, I will give Brad Stevens and the Celtics the benefit of the doubt because I think he's a really, really brilliant basketball mind and a really brilliant general manager that maybe they weren't willing to push all of their chips into the middle because they didn't value Giannis as much. They thought JAYLEN Brown was a better player. Fine, I can see that. But to now trade JAYLEN Brown for Paul George makes all of that not make sense whatsoever at all. And maybe we, Fitz, maybe the basketball world outside of general managers and NBA front offices just value JAYLEN Brown more than some general managers and front offices across the NBA. And I don't know how. And I do wonder if we as a sports society has just analytics a little bit too close to the sun. Because we heard the Mark Stein report, I believe it was Mark Stein, who said he had a front office person tell him that JAYLEN Brown would be the 7th best player on any team in the NBA. That just doesn't make Bobby Marks said that. Like, make that make sense to me when he finished 6th in MVP voting, but you're saying he'd be the 7th best player on any given team analytically? Like, what? Like, I don't need the analytics to paint a picture for me because my eyes can paint the reality for me that JAYLEN Brown is one of the best players in the NBA. Analytics be damned. That's like Kenny Atkinson saying that the Cavs won 3 games analytically. Okay, yeah, but you lost all of the games by the final score, and that's the only thing that matters. So I understand that analytics are a very, very valuable tool in basketball and in sports in general. But I feel like if analytics are the reason why the Celtics got Paul George and a couple of first-round picks, and that was the best offer on the table for him, maybe we're putting far too much weight into analytics and not enough into actual basketball that our eyeballs can see.
No matter what sport we're talking about, because we have this argument a lot in the NFL as well, analytics are a tool. But I think one thing we have to remember is that running an organization, sitting on the sidelines, being a head coach, being great at any of those sorts of roles requires you use all of the tools at your disposal. So if analytics alone could decide who was going to be great or terrible at basketball, then every NBA team in the world would have already fired all the human beings and they would just let the computers at a much lower cost decide who's good, who's bad with no insight, right? Like at some point, it has to be what your basketball mind tells you. It's not just the 10,000 hour principle; it's the 100,000 hour principle for some of these guys that are in front offices. They've been around the game their entire life. I want them to use the analytics as a tool when they sit down and decide, okay, what is this person really good at, and how does it change our strategy? I think that there's value to using that. But the reason you still have camps, the reason you still have workouts, the reason you still watch games, the reason you still do interviews with prospects is because the analytics alone can never tell the complete story. I understand that it's become really popular to pile on JAYLEN Brown. I also remember when JAYLEN Brown was the finals MVP. I also remember when JAYLEN Brown was a finalist in the MVP voting this last season. I also remember a Celtics team that was told essentially, go ahead and tank because the analytics showed you were going to suck. And instead, they were the 1 seed last year. I mean, my God, I understand the analytics may not tell us the same story, but to think that JAYLEN Brown's success reaches an analytical value of trash doesn't make any sense to me. And that's part of why, if you're a 76ers fan right now, I think you're through the moon. And shout out to my buddy Cliff. He's a producer for The Ringer, works on the Philly Special podcast there. He's the biggest Sixers fan I know, and also a smart basketball mind. And I texted him and I said, make it make sense. How do you feel about it today? His exact text to me, single greatest trade in Sixers history, outside in, no longer inside out with Embiid. This team's epic, right? Like that's the way Philly fans feel today. And I respect the hell out of that because I think there's an understanding if you're in Philly, analytics be damned, right? Like you're looking around saying, I know to your point that I got VJ Edgecombe. I know I got Maxey. I know that if Embiid can be healthy, that's great. But even if he's not, now you add JAYLEN Brown into this. I'm stunned to see that the rest of the league was not willing to even give up a bag of Skittles for JAYLEN Brown, considering the success that he's had in the league and considering some of the guys that we've seen get max contract money in this league that had not done nearly on the court what JAYLEN Brown has accomplished.
And that's why I just don't get it. I'm so dumbfounded. I just simply do not understand. And I do wonder if the Boston Celtics aren't done. If they're going to take those first round picks and take an expiring Paul George contract and try and flip it for something else. But if this is it, I don't know how Celtics fans can have a whole lot of faith in Brad Stevens moving forward when you went from a team that was squarely in a championship window, that had a championship ceiling this past year, even with a less than 100% Jason Tatum, to now a team that looks like they would lose to Philadelphia 10 times out of 10 times. And a big reason why is because of the guy that you just handed them on a silver platter. So I would be shocked because I think that Brad Stevens is way too good of a general manager for this to just be it. For this to be the team that he, trots out there on the Celtics court come the start of next season. I can't believe they're done. I don't know what else is out there, though. I don't know how attractive of a team the Boston Celtics look right now to a potential free agent or in a potential sign and trade situation.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, in a chase to chase the Knicks, the Celtics' approach this offseason was to get older and more injured. I'm not sure how that gets them closer to the Knicks. And you mentioned not done. I'll at least say this quickly. Tony Jones of The Athletic last night tweeted that the 76ers have expressed interest in adding LeBron James. I'm not sure the 76ers are done. We're not done talking about this trade, but we got to get to the most controversial moment of the night. Red cards flying. I know Taylor Twellman has something to say about it. We'll talk to him next.
I mean, yeah, everyone loves to bring up all the pressure and tell me about the pressure. And I'm used to it. I've lived like this for quite some time now. For me, I just try to do my best to live in the moment. I wouldn't trade what I do for the world. So this is exactly where I want to be. And I just try to take it head on and enjoy every experience. I got a wonderful team and family behind me. And that's all that really matters.
Understanding that Jacksonville needs a jolt of energy. It is tough to run inside the 5-yard line because the line of scrimmage is so tight in this game. You see the linebacker sneaking right up there, ready to make an impact. And then we see, bam, in the the backfield. C.J. Wyndham taken down for a big loss, and now the pressure's on for 3rd down.
Clay Fields, one of the physical imposers on this defense, does a great job of getting rid of that wide receiver.
I think this is the steal of the draft. Obviously, I was big on him going at number 1 potentially. But when you look at historically, when we look at the draft, the guys who are the best are the ones that outperform. It's the sons of NBA players. Look at this list here. Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Al Horford. These are all all-stars. And I think Carlos Boozer, being the father of Cam, in a weird way, it makes me like Cam Boozer's prospect even more than what he did at Duke, which was outstanding.
From midfield. 3rd and 5. Delora to throw. Delora all day. Delora shuffles left. Delora launches. Corner end zone. Caught.
Just stay home.
Touchdown. Seneca McKee. Corner of the end zone. And Delora finds him for the touchdown, and now a chance to tie it.
1, 2, 3, 4 guys back there. How are you not fanned out across that area?
I felt like you could hear the cheering all across the country last night in a 2-0 win for United States for the USMNT in the World Cup. But maybe the loudest roar of all was a roar of disapproval when a controversial red card came out in the second half of play. Taylor Twellman joins us now. Taylor's been with us throughout the tournament. You tweeted it out at the time. Your tweet said, red card for that means you've lost the plot. You've had some time to look at it. You've had time to look at the entire process. Was it a red card?
No. If you take a still photo of it and it looks like the Bosnian defender breaks his ankle, absolutely. If you go by that, no doubt. But if the call on the field is what it was, which was nothing, then you cannot, according to the VAR protocols, use slow motion still images. So they did not follow the right VAR protocol. That's a fact. That's not even my opinion. That's based on what they did. And so that's where it is really, really disappointing to me. Listen, the hardest thing about my sport, our sport in the world, is that there are so many different ways to interpret the game. A South American referee looks at it different than an Asian referee versus a European versus an American. So there's a different way to interpret the game. But if Lionel Messi is not given a foul or a yellow card for his challenge against Algeria in the opening game, then unequivocally you cannot give a red card for this one. And that still images that you're looking at right now, there wasn't even a whistle on Messi. And Messi's looking at the defender. He's watching the defender. That is, by definition, the laws of how you give a red card. Florian Balogun had no idea where the defender was. He was playing the ball. So, yes, that image right there, absolutely, that's a red card. But if the call on the field is what it was, which was nothing, then you can't use that image for VAR. And they did. They showed the world as he was watching it on the monitor, slow motion. Guys, that's against VAR protocols. And so that is extremely disappointing. The other aspect to this, and I'm going to throw production here for a wrinkle. Senegal, Belgium, the second goal for Belgium. That shouldn't have counted. He fouled the Senegalese defender, and VAR doesn't come in. And then VAR comes in for the third Belgium goal at the end of extra time to award a penalty. This is where VAR is extremely controversial around the world. I am 100% for VAR to get the calls right. But now if you're retro officiating the game, now we got a problem.
When I go back to that comparison between the Messi and Balogun fouls, put me in the mind of the referees that were refereeing each of those respective games. How do you come to those conclusions when it feels like one act was far more egregious than the other, but that was the one that didn't get anything?
Yeah, for me, but neither are reds. And the reason why, if you need me to pick one, sure, Messi's is more egregious than Balogun. But quite frankly, this is where VAR is losing the plot. You're supposed to get the reason why VAR came in, and I'm going to get it was the 2010 World Cup. Frank Lampard scored a goal. It crossed the line, but we didn't have VAR then. So immediately they need to figure that out. That's a big moment, massive moment. Offside. When it's offside, you can use still images. You can use slow motion. You can still slow the game down so then you get your angles right. But as Mark Clattenburg and about 5 other former FIFA referees says, this is not a good use of VAR. This is not the purpose of VAR. You have to have nuance of what's going on. You have to watch the game. You cannot take still images on these challenges. You cannot. Otherwise, this is no different, quite frankly, than the Dez Bryant, was it a catch or wasn't it, at Lambeau Field. What are we doing? We're ruining sports. And so that's where this becomes very difficult for me. Very difficult. And the other aspect to this is this. You can appeal. But that's interesting because Cristiano Ronaldo got a severe red card suspension, 2 games that would have gone into this World Cup, and they just rescinded it. Huh. That's interesting. Interesting. So Fitz, just to put a bow on this, they can't rescind the red card, but they could appeal the use of VAR protocols. That technically they could do, and I'm interested over the next 24 hours if that comes out. But I will be shocked if FIFA does anything. They'll bury their head in the sand, and then they'll move on.
I guess we got to move on. This all feels gross. On a night where the USMNT had a hell of an effort, I know we got to talk about other things with this. What do you make of the way that they responded, one man down for the rest of the match?
Honestly, it's the first time this tournament where we've seen any kind of controversy for them and any kind of adversity and how do they respond. And I thought they responded really well. I thought Matt Freese made a couple good saves, couple moments, and then he had a couple nervy moments. Tillman's free kick, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant at a huge time. What a story that was, by the way. He got stepped on. He needed a new boot. He just put it on right before scoring that goal. So that goal came up massive. The performance was really strong. That was an ugly game. And Bosnia did exactly what they wanted to do and try to kill any kind of rhythm for the United States and any kind of flow. And the United States responded. Home field advantage was massive. The whole thing was a spectacle. But we're sitting here talking about the red card because, quite frankly, you are now jeopardizing the future of the tournament and the next game because of incompetence and the misuse of VAR. And yet we're not really talking about the kind of performance that the United States needed to put in. They showed real grit, real guts. I thought it was brilliant. I really do. I thought it was really good.
It was a spectacle, absolutely. Like, to watch the team, circle around the field and hug each other and high five as Country Roads is playing and everyone in the stands is going nuts. It gave me chills. It was a really, really special moment. And it felt like when they were down Balogun, they didn't get overwhelmed. They didn't get pissed off. They were galvanized. And that is really what pushed them over to winning that game last night. But let's spin it forward to that game against Belgium. Also, without Balogun, how do they win that game without him?
Oh, they can win that game without him. I think there's an overreaction to this. I think the overreaction, and like all of us, is we're disappointed for Balogun, who's having himself a tournament of his life, right? So that's part of it. But Ricardo Pepi was really good against Senegal. And that's a team that just took Belgium to the brink. They should have beat Belgium. They had a 2-0 lead in the 85th minute, lost. But Pepi was really good. Really good. And so he will be ready to play. He's a different type of player. Pulisic will have to be much better than he was against Bosnia. But Belgium is not going to go into this game, guys, and play a low block. So there's going to be more space to be had for Dest and Pulisic and Tillman, McKinney and Pepe. And so now all of a sudden it's a different type of game. The United States can beat Belgium. Belgium's an older team. They're a slower team. I don't think they're as athletic and mobile. I think Senegal was really good for 84 minutes. And I think the United States can watch that tape. I take more out of Belgium-Senegal 24 hours ago than I do about Belgium beating the United States in March. Neither team had their full complement of players. That game's honestly pointless to assess. You could look at it and try to find keys for how certain managers and players and certain things, but it's a different type of game. The United States will be ready. And the last thing I'll leave you with this regarding Belgium is this, guys. This generation, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic, Chris Richards, they all talk about 2014's loss to Belgium in the round of 16. Tim Howard set a record for most saves. And if not for a missed chance from Dempsey and Wando, they would have played Argentina in the quarterfinal. I bring that up because how apropos is this? Round of 16 for this generation where that game really motivated this group to be that group. They're going to be chomping at the bit. This is going to be a really good game, and they absolutely can win this game without Florian. And quite frankly, what a motivating tactic. Win it for Balogun. Give them a quarterfinal. Give them a chance to get back into the Golden Boot race. I think they'll be ready for Monday night.
Let me be the overreacting prisoner of the moment. I text the group. I was watching, obviously, every second of that Belgium game. I was texting you during it. But at the end of that game, I just texted and said, I think we just saw the 28-3. It felt so improbable to me. It was Belgium 28-3. That's the football guy in me. Is that an accurate sort of comp? Can we make that comp for the meltdown we saw in that game?
Yeah, the meltdown comes down to on the second goal, the goal shouldn't have counted. Absolutely. The Belgium attacking player, two hands. And if you need to see a video, go to my X feed because I posted the video and said, where's VAR here? Two hands back. But the goalkeeper's in complete no man's land. He should not be off his line. And that's why they tie that game in the 89th minute and then ultimately lose. Absolute %. That's the thing, Fitz. Like, Belgium had to play an extra 30-plus minutes. They're an older team. They're going to be tired. Yes, they don't have to travel because that game was in Seattle, and now they play the United States in Seattle. But the United States has an upper hand here, even without Balogun, because of that. And so, 28-3, great analogy. It's a little weird because, hey, honestly, you're kind of spot on because if the Atlanta Falcons ran the ball for one set of those downs, Tom Brady and those guys probably don't have enough time to come back, but they chose not to, and here we are talking about it. It's an unbelievable comeback, and it's given themselves an extra life, but those are some tired legs, and I think the United States, athletically, energy-wise, they'll be up for it. Keep in mind, Pulisic missed the game, right? So he's going to still have some energy. He put some real time in. Tyler Adams was really good. I think the upper hand is going to be the United States because of that. But Senegal is going to have nightmares about how they ended that game because you can't be up 2 goals in a World Cup round of 32 knockout round game in the 85th minute and lose it.
So, Taylor, you're saying that second goal shouldn't have counted. Obviously, all of the red card controversy with Balogun. I've heard a lot of tinfoil hat conspiracies on social media over the last couple of days. Do those tinfoil hat conspiracies have any sort of credence, in your opinion?
No, I just, otherwise I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't be in the media because then we'd be talking about sports in general just being scripted. And listen, social media can put a lot of stuff out there nowadays that can grow legs and have a lot of people believe in it, but I don't. Now, that's not to say I'm not going to sit here and criticize the officiating or the referee decisions or the use of VAR and the protocols around that. But I just, to believe in a conspiracy theory that this thing's already scripted, that's just, that takes the fun out of it for me. And quite frankly, I don't give it a ton of time.
All right. We've talked about soccer long enough. I want to give you the floor, my friend. I just want to know if you have anything to say this morning about the Boston Celtics, a team that you have a lot of feelings for.
Yeah, they got fleeced. Holy cow, they got absolutely fleeced on this trade. I just find it interesting. I really do. JAYLEN Brown, 24 hours after losing a 3-1 lead. They had a 14-point lead in the third quarter of Game 5, and they lose that series to the 76ers. He says it's the greatest individual year of his professional career. That one doesn't resonate with me. But Joe Mazzulla. So everyone in the NBA has told me, if you got 2 of the top 15 players in the NBA, you do not get rid of that. 3 of the 4 years Joe Mazzulla has been a head coach, they've crashed out of the playoffs in spectacular fashion. Yeah, 1 year they won it. Absolutely, they did. But the other 3 years, it was kind of gross how they went out. You are saying by this trade that Joe Mazzulla was more important than JAYLEN Brown and Tatum's tandem. So a season ticket holder right now is being told by your leadership that Paul George, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, which, by the way, we all know those picks aren't going to amount to anything. And now you're going to play them in your conference, in your division. Guys, what am I missing here? What am I missing? Now, the caveat to this, and nobody's really talking about it, new ownership for the Celtics. So is this like, listen, we want to get out from having to pay JAYLEN Brown $70+ million in the upcoming years? Okay, fine, I get it. But you're trading him to the Sixers? To the Sixers? I don't get it. Honestly, Celtics got fleeced. Hands down.
I just wanted to make sure you could get that off your chest, my friend. We always appreciate your expertise. Just on a side note, thanks for texting me back in the middle of the World Cup action. I try not to do it too much, but I'm like, 12 minutes, is that a good call? That's just what we do. I appreciate the time as always. Thanks.
We can't tell the public what exactly I wrote, but it was 4 letters.
Yep. All right. Appreciate you, my friend. We will see you again soon. Can't wait for Monday. It is going to be an electric day in this country. It's great stuff from Taylor Twellman. Coming up next, speaking of things that had people yelling, the Lakers we built, not everybody loves it. We'll tell you about it.
So now Felix Harper sends the motion, takes the snap, takes the pitch, looks over the middle, 2 receivers in the same spot, and that turns into a huge interception for Jacksonville. Lost opportunity, and what a return, what a pick, and what a change of momentum created by Isaiah Major.
Wow. You talk about bend but don't break.
My biggest concern is, can he be an on-ball playmaker? Yes, we saw it in high school, but we know that there's levels to this. So when you get to Kansas to have 38 turnovers and 38 assists, to me as a one-to-one guy, your sample size isn't good enough. Now, we know his big moments were extremely big. They were extremely loud. My man is an elite-level scorer and will fill it up with the best of them. But I want to see if he can grow into a high-level playmaker.
Well, inside the 25 at the 23, Jerome Johnson's going to fire under pressure. He's got a man, and again, touchdown for the Sugar Skulls. Javion Lofton, his 2nd of the night.
I mean, that is the type of drive that you want. Type of drive, just methodically down the field,
Overcoming all those penalties
and all that. And sure enough, the best way to fix it is let's go score a touchdown.
When I think of Christian Pulisic and what he's going through now with this World Cup, can you talk a little bit about that pressure? And you seem like someone who can push a lot of that off, Christian, as well. But does that seep in a little bit?
The cameras are going to be pointing at your direction. You're going to be one of the ones interviewed the most in post-match. At this point now, it's like Christian is Christian, and he's going to deliver greatness, and we can't expect that to be every single minute like any other player.
The Lakers wasted no time, as we all sat here and said, what are they going to do without LeBron? It took like an hour for us to know exactly what they're going to do without LeBron. They signed Walker Kessler to a big deal after signing him and trading with the restricted free agent. They bring in Mamu, not even going to try it, y'all, out of simple respect. Quentin Grimes and Colin Sexton. A lot of money spent on a completely rebuilt roster that has everybody absolutely losing their minds. What do you make of it, Caroline? A lot of people had a lot to say about the way this roster looks.
Yeah, I mean, Lakers fans were freaking out yesterday, and honestly, I kind of get it. Like $130 million over the next 4 years, and what they gave up to get him feels like a lot to trade, and it feels like a lot of money for a guy that has injury concerns. I'm talking about Walker Kessler. Of course, other guys, nice supplementary pieces. I can see the vision unfolding. You get some size, you get some three-point shooting. But the Walker Kessler trade is really the biggest one to me because it's a lot. It's a lot to trade and it's a lot to pay a guy that has only hit the 65-game threshold once in his career, and it was his rookie season back in 22-23. I mean, the shoulder issue, you can tell me, oh, he sat out a majority of this past season to clean the shoulder up and to get the rest of the shoulder. Okay, I get it, but you're bringing in an injury concern guy to a team that that season was pretty much derailed due to injury. That a 41-year-old LeBron James was the most reliable guy in the postseason. Luka has injury concerns. Austin Reeves' season was derailed due to injury. So you bring in another expensive and injured guy. Now, what Walker Kessler does is fill a need because the Lakers needed to have a big defensive presence, and that's what Walker Kessler is providing them. I don't think it solves everything, though, when you add an injury concern to a team with injury concerns.
I don't disagree with that, but you do have a team that ranked last year 29th in offensive rebounding in the NBA. Kessler is coming in to help that. And I think what we really saw is that the Lakers want size in the middle, right? Like Kessler, 7'2", I believe, and Mamu, again, not going to try and do the full thing, 6'9". So they bring in a couple of big guys. And I think what we learned here is that the organization, Rob Pelinka, has looked around and said, we know how we intend to win with Luka. How many times have we heard over the last month that the pitch to Luka has been, we're going to bring you a big man? Now, was Kessler the elite, oh my God, big man? Probably not. Was he the best option they could get right now if you look around at all of their options? Maybe. So was it an overpay for Walker Kessler? Yes, it was an overpay. And sometimes the market requires that you overpay. For anybody that's ever tried to buy a house in a popular city, it might not be worth that price, but you want to get a house, you got to pay for it. So if you're the Lakers, if you need a big man and you look around and say, man, we have very limited options, this is a path we can get to one. We're going to have to give up a lot. We're going to have to pay a lot. It's that or nothing. I think that just has to be part of the equation. So to me, this acquisition made a lot of sense because of the situation the Lakers are in. Now, I do think this Brett Siegel tweet is an important one. They have no tradable first-round picks over the next 7 years after this sign and trade thing. So they've committed $475 million. They've given up draft picks. But also to that, Caroline, I kind of say, when's the last time the Lakers drafted and developed their superstar that everybody's looking at? Austin Reeves, I gave some credit on this show yesterday, but the path for the Lakers has rarely been, we're going to go slowly develop. We're going to go draft players. Like, no, the Lakers every year go out, spend a bunch of money, try and get the biggest name they can, and they build a team that way.
Well, I mean, like, it worked for the Knicks. So drafting and developing, sure, it definitely does work. Look at the San Antonio Spurs. Drafted and developed, and they were basically fast-forwarding their franchise into the NBA Finals this past season. And I don't think anyone thinks that the Spurs are going anywhere. So obviously, yes, that's a tried and true and proven way to build your roster. But the Knicks got Jalen Brunson in free agency and traded for pretty much everybody else. So that is also a pretty tried and true and clear and obvious way to win a championship. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but you also have to get it right. Because the Knicks got it right when they paid Jalen Brunson more money than anybody else was willing to. They got it right when they traded 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. They got it right when they traded for OG Anunoby, even though everybody just thought that OG Anunoby was kind of just a defensive guy who wasn't going to give you much offensively. They got it right when they made these moves that were big-time swings and were highly criticized at the time. So that's what the Lakers now need to do. Going out and spending a bunch of money in free agency and having all these big-time blockbuster trades, those are all great and all. But now you have to get it right. Now you have to show something. Now you have to prove to everybody that we are smarter than you are. Because these kinds of moves and these kinds of trades will pay off. What I do like about what the Lakers have done is they were willing to move on from big time superstar LeBron James to go out and make their team better. That's not always an easy and comfortable thing to do. It's easy and comfortable and probably, makes you a lot more popular with the fan base when you continue to pay these big names and you continue to bring in these big time superstar kind of players. Maybe previous iterations of the Los Angeles Lakers would have just held on to LeBron because that was the easy thing to do, because that makes you relevant, because you can hold on to a celebrity. I do like that they were able to say, no, we don't think that we're going to win a championship if we just run it back with the same core that we had this past season. So we're going to go out and we're going to go fill our needs. We need to get bigger. That's how you win in the NBA. That's how you win in the West. That's how you compete with Wemby and Chet. And in the East, obviously with what the Knicks did with Mitchell Robinson and Cat and OG Anunoby and all of their bigs. You need to be big in the modern NBA. So I see the moves. I see the gears turning. I see the Lakers' strategy here. My big concern, though, and I'll continue to go back to, is the injuries. That if Walker Kessler continues to be an injury concern, if Walker Kessler is only available for 50 to 60 games this season, told you so.
You're right, 1,000%. What drives me crazy about this Lakers conversation over the last 24 hours, because everybody's looking at it saying, are they better than last year? Is this lineup really better than it was last year? I guess my question to that is, who cares? Because at the end of the day,
I think it is, though.
But either way, LeBron already decided he wasn't coming back. So the minute LeBron decides he's not coming back, whatever you were last year does not matter to who you're going to be this year. So then you got to decide the best way to build around Luka. So the minute you start deciding the best way to build around Luka, the only thing organizationally you can ask is, how do we take whatever's available to us right now and maximize that availability to get what we think makes this team better? That's all Rob Pelinka can do. So it's not like Rob Pelinka. We're not playing video game basketball where you can just sit there over and over on 2K and request trades until they go through. Like, that's not reality. So to me, I kept seeing all this discourse yesterday about whether this puts the Lakers closer to a championship and have they done the right things. Well, again, you got to look at this roster construction like the TV show Chopped on Food TV. You open up your basket of ingredients and you're going to make based on what's in that basket. There were only so many big men that were going to be available. I think the Lakers did a nice job giving what was available, putting the best team that they could around Luka for this year. And yeah, they've spent a lot of money doing it. But I think in this situation, number one, we have no idea what JJ Redick's offense is really going to look like now that it continues to grow without having to factor in LeBron in any of this conversation. Number two, this is now clearly Luka and Austin's team. So what does that mean for the way that they develop what they're going to run? Number three, the organization is telling you we know what we need. We needed some big guys in the middle, and we needed some outside support. Do they have a great perimeter defense? No. Did they have great perimeter defense last year? No. Were there a bunch of people sitting on the sidelines they should have signed instead that would give them better perimeter defense that would suddenly make the Lakers a championship contender? No. So, like, if we're going to sit here and have this conversation about what the Lakers are doing and does it put them closer to a championship, I just think we need to actually look outside of the vacuum of just the Lakers and look at the West. Somebody out there that hates these moves, what I want you to do is I want you to build for me what you would have done, could have done, and should have done using only what's available that would have made you better than OKC or San Antonio this coming season. The answer is nothing. So I think the Lakers took the best swing that they could. Who do you think has more pressure, by the way, this year, Pelinka or JJ?
I think it's Rob Pelinka. And I think it's because JJ Redick, when he was originally hired by the Lakers, what are we doing? You're just hiring LeBron's podcast co-host, the guy that he handpicked for you, really, JJ Redick. But honestly, over the last couple of years, JJ Redick has proven to me, JJ Redick is a really good coach. And I will specifically point out that series with the Houston Rockets. He totally and completely worked Ime Udoka. So I think that JJ Redick is a good coach. He has proven that to me. Is he an elite coach in the NBA? I'm not going to go that far, but he's proven to me that he deserves to have a place on, as a head coach for that organization. Rob Pelinka, to me right now, I think has just gotten really lucky. I think that Rob Pelinka has gotten lucky that Nico Harrison was a certified ding-dong and was able to give Luka Doncic up for a bag of peanuts and a couple of pieces of gum. Like that to me doesn't feel like, oh wow, Rob Pelinka's doing chess, not checkers. Rob Pelinka is some brilliant basketball genius. No, it was obvious. Luka Doncic in his prime, one of the best players in the NBA, and you can get him if you just give up Anthony Davis. Doy, I could have done that deal in my sleep. So I think what Rob Pelinka needs to do now is what he needs to prove to me, and I think the general basketball world is, they've gotten lucky a couple of times. Now this is your roster that you have constructed with a vision in your mind without getting overly lucky, with the post-LeBron era kind of hanging over your head. Prove to us that this is the right team, that you made the right moves in assembling this roster.
No, you're right. I mean, Rob, I think, has way more pressure because ultimately he's deciding on this roster. And whoever would take this roster over, should he ever not be with the Lakers, doesn't have an enviable position for long-term building or salary situations. So Rob has certainly put them up against it. And meanwhile, part of all of this started because LeBron obviously left the Lakers. Now, reportedly, according to Shams, as we've said, happiness matters more than money. We're getting reports now that he would be willing to accept a minimum contract to play for a contender. We're talking about $3.8 million. He'd be willing to accept under $4 million if it would turn into playing for a contender. Caroline, my first thought when I saw this was, why wasn't he willing to do this for the Lakers last year? How much different would the Lakers look today if LeBron had decided a year ago, you know what, I'm going to opt out, and instead of making a ton of money, I'll play for the vet minimum. Let's build a championship in LA. Like, all of this is so wild on the timing of it with LeBron James.
It's a great point. Like last year, he could have been like, no, I'm opting out of my player option. I will make, let's just say half. I'll make $25 million this past season if it means that we can go out and get a certified, shutdown defensive big, which if they did, if the Lakers did, and I've said this so many times before, the Lakers didn't need an elite defense. With the offense that they had, all they needed was just like a middle-of-the-road average defense, and I would have viewed the Lakers much differently than the team that we got this past season. So it's a great point by you. I also wondered, too, why does LeBron want this out there? Why does he want that reported that he's willing to play for the vet minimum? To look like he's a team player type of guy? Because to me, this just kind of makes it seem like LeBron's desperate. To me, it just makes it seem like the market for LeBron is not nearly as lucrative as I initially thought that it would be. I don't think this makes LeBron James look good. I don't think this makes it seem like he has as many options as I originally thought that he would have. So why put that out there?
To me, it all comes back. See, I think the optics will be feasted on if he signs a vet minimum somewhere just to go be a part of a championship team. People will say, look at the sacrifice. He's willing to take less. Anytime an athlete takes less, we make it. There will be reports. Mark my words. Clip this off when it happens. If he signs somewhere for vet minimum, the first thing that will be reported is LeBron turned down massive money from this team, and this team, because it's all about optics, baby. It's all just going to be part of the twisting and turning of making him the good guy.
But I think there is also a very high likelihood that LeBron is putting this out there of, oh, he's so selfless. Oh, all LeBron wants to do is win. Oh, wow, look at LeBron willing to only play for $4 million. And then he goes to sign somewhere for like 25. It's like, well, that was cute and sweet. That's a nice sentiment, but like, no thanks, I'm good. I'll take more.
One thing I know is we'll be on LeBron watch all holiday weekend long. Coming up next, we'll figure out what all of these moves have meant for teams according to Vegas. Ben Fawkes joins us.
What's the difference between your show and their show?
I'm going to say we have the superior talkers because I'm on the show, and nobody's a better talker than me in all of professional wrestling, and that's just a fact. We just feel really special, and we feel very distinct, and I think the biggest reason why, more than anything else, is because when I'm watching All Elite Wrestling, I don't feel like I am watching somebody play a character.
The game will end on this play, a 2-point try. Anthony Garrett sends two. He's going to run. Now he's going to throw. Back of the end zone. Knocked away at the last moment. And it's Quentin Randolph, the wide receiver, playing D-back to win it for Vegas.
Wow.
What a call. This is a call. If he puts a little more on it.
This is an ideal situation because in order to stay on the floor and get touches, you're going to have to defend. And DeBonta said this week that he knows his biggest flaw was his off-ball defense at BYU. And I can't wait to see him prove that he can do that at a high level in the NBA on top of everything else that's made him a #1 pick.
Ice, you mentioned John Wall.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be closer to John Wall than it is Kwame Brown.
Let's hope so for DC.
I hope so.
You know, with the stuff that he's got, if he can just throw the ball over the plate, which he has, figured out the last, 2 months, he's going to be pretty much unhittable. That was at that start that he had against the Yankees that night. He came out just electric, just throwing, heater after heater, actually just challenging, guys in the strike zone. When you throw the ball that hard and you throwing it over the plate and challenging guys, it's going to be hard for, for guys to pick it up.
The Sixers had 101 odds on DraftKings Sports to be Jaylen Brown's next team at the time of the trade. The longest odds for any team listed. That from Ben Fawkes. Some people made some money on that. Hopefully they only bet pizza money on it. All right. How did the 76ers trade shake up the East, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, look, that just kind of shows how unlikely this was, right? We see sportsbooks and prediction markets kind of offer this, what we call next team odds, which could either be a free agent signing with the team or potentially a trade. It's essentially another way for books and prediction markets to have people wager money on another thing, which in this case is the next team that the player could be on. But this kind of came out of left field and certainly trading somebody within the Eastern Conference as well. So this was a big movement. It was about 65-1, 66-1 to win the title for the 76ers. That went to 20-1, which is basically around sportsbooks. They're now the 5th best odds to win, behind the Thunder and the Spurs. They're kind of up top. Then the Knicks, then the Celtics, and then the Sixers. So that was big. The conference winner, they went from 20-1, the Sixers, to about plus 750 now. And even in that division, the Atlantic division, they were 22-1 before this trade. Now they're plus 450. So big moves for the 76ers. Also interesting, moving the other way for the Celtics, who, remember, had kind of ticked up a little bit as well in the odds. They were around plus 550, plus 600, because they thought potentially they were a Giannis destination, right? So sportsbooks always protect a little bit with those free agents. They learned from the LeBron decision where they got burned. And so now if there's potential destinations for a star, they'll kind of bump those odds up even more. So the Celtics were already kind of at plus, like I said, plus 650 or so. They moved back now to 14-1. The Knicks hopped over them in the odds. So a ton of different movement. If we look kind of just overall at the odds in the East, we now have the Knicks. There's at BetMGM plus 325. The Celtics plus 450. The Sixers now 7-1. Pistons plus 750. Raptors 8-1. Heat plus 850. And then the Cavs 9-1. So a big bunch up. These teams keep it seemingly daily or weekly, right? Shifting depending on what is going on. And obviously we don't know necessarily if that's the last move that the Celtics are going to do. Now they have some other assets with those draft picks. So it's been a wild off season, and we're kind of just getting started here in the NBA.
I hope we're just getting started. I feel like Veruca Salt and Willy Wonka when she's like, more. I'm like, we've already gotten so many blockbuster trades, but I want more. We're seeing some of the Eastern Conference odds down below, and I mentioned it. The blockbuster trades we've gotten: Giannis, Melo, Ja, Jaylen Brown is the most recent one. Kawhi, another one. Of those teams, whose title odds have seen the biggest shift?
Yeah, so I think it's probably in between two. I would say it's either the 76ers or the Raptors. The T-Wolves kind of around 30-1. Once they got LaMelo, it's about 25-1. And the Heat, who had already been moved up a little bit, right, as that potential Giannis destination, they're around 30-1, went to 18-1. But the Raptors, they were somewhere kind of in the 100, 125-1. They are now 22-1 to win the title. So a big jump with Kawhi. And obviously he kind of solidifies a lot of what we saw they were missing. Remember, they were right there against the Cavs in the playoffs this past year. And now they have kind of that another defensive stopper to add to a really good defensive team and just somebody who can say, hey, go for it in the half court, in the playoffs. We know that you can go get a bucket or score 40 points. Obviously, the big caveat being Kawhi being on the court, as he's had plenty of health issues. But they've been the biggest one. They were 30-1 to win the East, now plus 800. So I would say that's probably number one, with the 76ers number two. The 76ers also fascinating because, again, do they have another move, right? Is this potentially, can they get off Joel Embiid? Do they want all these guys to play together? I think there's more to come, Caroline. Don't worry. I think we'll have some more trades, but the East is kind of seems like an arms race in the way that it felt like the West was last year and previous years.
All right, Ben, we're officially on LeBron watch. Everybody wants to know where he's going to go. So where do the markets like LeBron's next team to be?
Yeah, this is also one that keeps kind of switching back and forth. So this is one that's been up for a little while. I think once LeBron announced that he was not going back to the Lakers, who were up there originally as one of the potential favorites, there was kind of the LeBron goes back to the Lakers or retires was kind of the same bucket in prediction markets. We had the Warriors were the favorite, and basically they had been the favorite up until kind of late last night, early this morning on a couple of prediction markets. And now the Cavaliers at 39% are the favorite, Golden State 33%, and Miami 13%. There are some teams still lingering out there a little lower. The 76ers, I believe, are 6%, the T-Wolves 4%, and then the Nuggets also 3%. I would say at sports books, right, there isn't that much money being wagered on this. On certain prediction markets, right, like Kalshi, there's almost $35 million wagered on just this market. So a lot of money going into this market. Obviously, some speculation, and I would guess some more informed speculation as well. It does seem like it's those three teams, right? Cleveland, Golden State, and Miami, which has kind of been discussed. But as you guys were discussing the previous segment, a lot of the issue or potential with LeBron in that market, right, is you would figure someone who's due to make 40 million, 50, whatever he could potentially make is going to want all of that, or at least most of that. If he truly is going to take a veteran's minimum, and theoretically every NBA team could afford him, or almost every NBA team, then that certainly opens up the market for a lot of other teams. The T-Wolves, for example, don't have a lot of money after the LaMelo Ball deal. They could theoretically sign him for a veteran's minimum. They can't sign him for even $10 million, $12 million, $15 million. So I do agree it's probably a way to publicly tell teams, hey, it's open season. I'm willing to come to you. The question is, how many teams want to add that, as well as the, you don't want to say circus necessarily, but everything that comes with it, LeBron's potential final season, if there's a documentary, obviously LeBron in the locker room, if he's the third option on a team or a fourth option. So there's a lot that comes with it, as well as kind of just LeBron, the player, on the court. But certainly you'd think he's going to help one of these teams. And yes, he kind of has only one goal, right, which is play for a championship. It's nice to be able to sit back, let the teams do all the maneuvering, and then say, all right, I'm going to pick that team if they're good with me.
35 million real quick here is a staggering amount of money to be wagered. I'm not familiar with, so I'll ask you, are there regulations in place that prevent Rich Paul and LeBron from hopping in on those very bets? Like, he knows where, if he knows where he's going to go, can he or someone close to him legally on a prediction market put out a huge bet and making a bunch of extra money?
I guess for the TLDR, no, legally they cannot. Are there other back channels as well? And is this something that prediction markets have certainly dealt with other markets relating to war and other things in the past? The answer is yes, right? There are people who have access to specific, whether you want to call that inside information, proprietary information. They know, right? In the same way, if I'm part of the Washington Wizards front office, I know before other people who we as an organization are taking at number one. There are mechanisms potentially to get that information out there. Ultimately, know that you're not allowed to have insider trading on prediction markets, but you also have to decide as that person, is that worth it? I think probably for Rich Paul and LeBron James and others, and having made hundreds of millions of dollars, probably making $20,000 or $50,000 or whatever it would be probably isn't worth all the potential legal ramifications that would come with that.
I mean, maybe that's why LeBron's going to take the vet minimum, because he can just make
Yeah.
a bunch of money on Kyle. I'm kidding. The basketball drama and news is definitely not in short supply. I'm sure there's much more to come, but I do want to transition into the World Cup. Huge win for the U.S. last night after defeating Bosnia. How has the USMNT's odds shifted throughout the course of the World Cup?
Yeah, we're working our way up there. We came in about 50-1. I think before the draw back in December, we were 66-1, 50-1 entering the group stage. After we won the group, we were down to around 25-1, and we are now 20-1, which is kind of insane just to say that the United States has 20-1 odds to win a World Cup and is in the final 16. Obviously, yes, I think those odds jacked up a little bit, right, versus kind of the true probability the U.S. wins. And yes, we do have to see. The U.S. did open as a slight favorite against Belgium. I'd say maybe if you're thinking like an NFL spread, like a 1-point favorite, 1.5-point favorite, somewhere in there, a very small favorite over Belgium. But obviously without Flo Balogun, that is a very different match potentially than it would look like. But remember, in soccer, there are a lot of different ways to win. You have a tie as well, kind of can go to PKs and win that way. There are a bunch of different ways to win. Doesn't just have to be kind of on the field in 90 minutes. So hopefully the U.S. can get that done, move on to the next round, and get the best striker that we have back.
Got to hit you on the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. I sideline reported that for many years at ESPN. Been there in person several times. Joey Chestnut, what do we like here, Ben?
Listen, there are worse ways to spend July 4th than on Coney Island. Joey Chestnut, massive favorite, minus 2,500. He's about the same favorite as Argentina to beat Cape Verde on Friday. 96% chance implied probability. I like the under here. 72.5 hot dogs is the over-under for Joey Chestnut. It's like 100 degrees here right now. It's going to be like 95 on Saturday. I don't think that's ideal hot dog eating weather. That's my professional analysis. And he's so far ahead of the field. Like, he can cruise to 65, 68 hot dogs. He'll win easily.
I will leave you with this professional analysis you didn't know you needed, but humidity is one of the biggest factors in the speed of the eating of the hot dogs, because the more sticky the air is, the harder it is to get the hot dogs to go down quickly. So Joey's told me many times that actually a cool day, if it's a little rainy, that's fine, but it needs to be cool, and you can't have a lot of thickness to the air. So the fact that it's hot and thick in the air, I don't know. You can make your picks for the hot dog eating contest with Yahoo Sports hot dog pick'em game. You see it right there. Get out there. Figure out how many hot dogs. I'm with you. I'm hammering the under. Ben Fawkes, we appreciate your time as always. Follow him on social media at BenFawkes22. Yeah, that's right. I'm betting the hot dog eating contest. I'm back, baby. YahooSports.com/betting is where you get to him. Ben, have a happy 4th. Thanks for your time, my friend. We appreciate you.
You too. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Ben.
So good. Can't even begin to tell you about the smell of the hot dog eating contest. Also, you know what else stinks? The Cardinals. Trey McBride said, what about Seattle? We'll tell you next.
What's the difference between your show and their show?
I'm going to say we have the superior talkers because I'm on the show, and nobody's a better talker than me in all of professional wrestling, and that's just a fact. We just feel really special, and we feel very distinct, and I think the biggest reason why, more than anything else, is because when I'm watching All Elite Wrestling, I don't feel like I am watching somebody play a character.
The game will end on this play, a 2-point try. Anthony Garrett sends 2. He's going to run. Now he's going to throw. Back of the end zone. Knocked away at the last moment. And it's Quentin Randolph, the wide receiver, playing D-back to win it for Vegas.
Wow. What a call. This is a call. If he puts a little more on it.
This is an ideal situation because in order to stay on the floor and get touches, you're going to have to defend. And DeBonta said this week that he knows his biggest flaw was his off-ball defense at BYU, and I can't wait to see him prove that he can do that at a high level in the NBA on top of everything else that's made him a #1 pick.
Ice, you mentioned John Wall.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be closer to John Wall than it is Kwame Brown.
For Washington. Let's hope so for DC.
I hope so. You know, with the stuff that he's got, if he can just throw the ball over the plate, which he has, you know, figured out the last, 2 months, he's going to be pretty much unhittable. I was at that start that he had against the Yankees that night. He came out just electric, just throwing, heater after heater, actually just challenging, guys in the strike zone. When you throw the ball that hard and you throwing it over the plate and challenging guys, it's going to be hard for guys to pick it up.
Trey McBride on playing the Seahawks. Their defense is a bunch of poopy talkers. All right, out here giving the Seahawks some bulletin board material. Although, Carolyn, I don't know. Like, when you have a ring and when you just won a Super Bowl, I'd probably talk my talk, too, if my defense was that good. What do we make of it? Throwing a little shade from Trey McBride to the Seahawks.
I am a firm believer, Fitzy, that if you walk the walk, you can talk the talk. But if you talk the talk, you better walk the walk. The Seahawks have walked far enough to talk whatever talk they want to talk, okay? Especially the Seahawks defense. So if they want to be, in your words, a bunch of poopy talkers, by all means, be poopy talkers. Like, talk your trash, just talk with it, whatever swagger and with however many expletives you want to talk with. You just want a Super Bowl. Go crazy. And Trey McBride, maybe if your team didn't stink and maybe if your team did not wear tortilla jerseys, you could talk trash if you wanted to too. But you don't. Your team stinks. Your team's terrible. So you can't talk trash whenever your team stinks. So I have no problem with it. I've got no problem with whatever trash talk the Seahawks want to talk with.
Yeah, look, as somebody that has been multiple times invited to play in rec league sports just to trash talk people, I respect it, Trey. Go in for it. What I don't respect are the Cardinals.
Go crazy.
Let me be clear here. The Cardinals are going to suck this year. And in fact, I think they may have a shot at legendary suckage. Now, remembering that there are several bad teams in the NFL every year. I'm going to keep reminding you of that because we forget about it every year. Remember, there were 4 teams this year and last season alone that only won 3 games. So what are we talking about here? But the Cardinals could be even worse. Let's pull up the schedule. Take a look at this. Is there a shot that we could look at a Cardinals team that's going 0-17, Caroline?
Yes. Yes. Let me say for the record, it is really hard to go 0-17 because the laws of football just don't allow for teams to be that bad. There's bound to be a ball that bounces your way every once in a while, or a team that's overlooking you, or you get a team, that's banged up at any certain point. Like, things happen over the course of a 17-game season. It's so difficult to go 0-17. But if any team can do it, it's the Cardinals. One big reason is what you're looking at right here. Their schedule is stupid. You start the season on the road at the Chargers. Oh, but then you get to come home against the reigning Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. And then you go on the road at San Francisco. And then you're going to turn around the very next week and take a cross-country road trip all the way to the New York Giants. Not a team that I think is going to be spectacular this year, but that's a really long road trip after a West Coast road trip. And then you get the Lions. I think the Lions are going to be a legitimate, Super Bowl playoff contender. And then you go on the road to the Rams. That's a loss. Put it in Sharpie for me right now. And then you play the Broncos, fresh off of a trip to the AFC Championship game. And then you go on the road to Jerry's World and play the Cowboys. And then you go back on the road and play again the reigning Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. And then you play Super Bowl contender Rams at home. And then you go on the road to Arrowhead. And then you play the Commanders, a better team than the Cardinals. I don't think they're any sort of world beaters, but they're better than you. And then you play the Eagles, and then you get a bye. All of those games, all of those Super Bowl contending opponents that you have on your schedule, and you don't get a bye until December. My goodness. So the schedule is absolutely ridiculous. And then You have a first-year head coach in Mike LaFleur. You have a quarterback battle between two quarterbacks that I don't even think are starting quarterbacks in the National Football League with Jacoby Brissett and Carson Beck. They have good pieces, yeah, for sure. Like, I love Marvin Harrison Jr. I love Jeremiah Love. I love Trey McBride. I think he's probably tight end 1 or tight end 2, depending on, whether you like Brock Bowers or Trey McBride style better. But I don't think those pieces are enough to make up for all of the other just crap surrounding the Arizona Cardinals.
The only problem with their path to 0-17 is that after the bye, they do get those 3 games right there that could all be teams that look very different, right? Like the Jets might turn out to be one of those teams competing to be the worst in the league. The Saints, depending on what we believe in Tyler Shuck, we'll know by week 16.
I believe
one of those teams. You believe in? I want to believe in Tyler. Is that because of New Orleans, or is that because you actually believe in Tyler Shuck?
Well, a little bit of both, to be fair now. It is a little bit of both. And I think it would be really easy to just look at Tyler Shuck's entire season and say, wow, that wasn't very good. But also, Tyler Shuck's end of his season was far better than he was at the beginning of the season. Total stats, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Yeah, no, that's not great. But almost all of those interceptions came in the beginning of the season. Tyler Shuck figured stuff out toward the end of the season, but nobody would know that because nobody watches the New Orleans Saints, and I don't blame them. Part of it is, yes, it is my Saints fandom, but part of it is Tyler Shuck showed some improvement toward the end of the season.
I will always credit Nate Tice that draft that he was selected before we even got into the draft as we were having our pre-draft prep meeting. Tyler Shuck said, or Nate Tice said, the Saints love Tyler Shuck. They're going to pick him. So they were in on this long before they even selected him. They get him. And you are right, play better at the end of the season for sure. And then they get the Raiders in week 17. Obviously, I think the Raiders are going to be better than one of the worst teams in the league. But also, let's acknowledge, that the Raiders may have gotten to this point and now may have made the switch from Kirk Cousins to Fernando. It could be early in Fernando. Like, you never know. Cardinals fans are going to be so puckered up by the time, because I think we agree they get to the bye 0-13. The problem is they could win a couple of games down the stretch, which could be just enough to take them out of the first overall pick, which will then have Cardinals fans losing your mind. If you get to 0-13, you might as well go 0-17, right? Like, you're not going to feel better going 2-15 and all of a sudden you miss out on the first pick in the draft. Just look at this year where having the second pick in the draft kept you out of the top quarterback market. Think about that for a second. But if you had to pick a team not Arizona, another team that just comes to your spirit that you think could be 0-17, like we're competing for the worst of the worst, who else could absolutely be the Sultan of suck this season?
Jets. It's the Jets. It's the Jets every year. And sure, maybe there's some Jets fans out there that are saying, oh, that's low-hanging fruit. You're just saying that because we have been bad. Yeah, exactly. Because what has the Jets done in my entire lifetime to make me believe that I should give them any sort of benefit of the doubt? Geno Smith has his own kind of stuff going on off the field, and Geno Smith was terrible this past season. I don't think anyone has a whole lot of faith in Aaron Glenn, which I do kind of feel for him there because I think that he's probably the sacrificial lamb going into this season, that they'll probably just fire him in the middle of or at the end of this season and then go on and find the right head coach for their new quarterback that they'll draft with either the number 1 or number 2 overall pick in next year's draft. The Jets are just perennially terrible, so it's easy for me to not trust them. I think week 15, Cardinals-Jets may set the game of football back like 20 years.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're not wrong about that. I think you're undervaluing how sucky the Dolphins are going to be this year. Like, I'll admit it, this is just me saying I'm not really in on Malik Willis. Like, Malik Willis doesn't really do it for me, and this is a roster that's in complete rebuild mode. So I hope Malik Willis turns out to be wildly successful, and this is a great thing for the Dolphins. And, oh, my God, they got their guy. Be a great story. I don't believe in any of that. So I think that the Dolphins deserve consideration for it, and maybe that's the best for them because certainly they invested enough in Malik, but the rest of this roster has needs all over the place. And when you've changed your coaching staff and there's so much change within the organization, I just have to feel like maybe it makes sense for you to just bottom out and see where it goes. Also, I mentioned earlier, like if Tyler Shuck, we talked about Tyler, but if Tyler takes a step back, I think that's a problem for them. If the Browns, for example, don't get quarterback play that's worth a you-know-what, I think that's a problem for them. I think there is a race for who could be the worst team in the NFL. Like, I don't know if the Browns objectively have any. I've said this repeatedly. I think the rest of their roster is playoff worthy. I believe that. But they're never really in that conversation. No Myles Garrett. They're bringing Jared Verse. But I could see 1 or 2 injuries, God forbid, derailing just enough of their season that they end up a revolving door at quarterback. Their season goes to you-know-what, and they're a 2-win team.
I could definitely see that too. I do. Like, the quarterback situation is a total and complete mess. Do not get that twisted. But I do feel like there's some good pieces on the Browns roster, especially defensively. I know no Myles Garrett, like you just mentioned, but I mean, Jared Verse was Defensive Rookie of the Year for a reason. So I almost feel like the Browns competing in a division that is so incredibly wide open, they can win some of those 7-3, 10-7 type of games. But also keep in mind, too, a big part of this for me that I think goes often overlooked is the schedule and the head coach. We've never seen Todd Monken as an NFL head coach. This is his first opportunity. And so I don't know what kind of tactician Todd Monken is going to be. Is he going to make the right calls in the right time? Is he going to make the right challenges in the right time? Is he going to make the right adjustments in the right time? What kind of halftime motivator? You're down 14-3, against the Steelers at home. You feel like this is a game you should win. How is Todd Monken going to get his team galvanized and ready and riled up at halftime? That I don't know. So that's a wild card for me. I just feel like, though, the Browns defense is going to be too good in a division that has as many question marks as it does. The Browns can at least win a couple of games.
Yeah, no, I don't think 0-17 is on the cards for them. Just worst team in the NFL.
But
Titans also belong. I mean, the Titans belong in this conversation too. Cam Ward, I just don't know. And I wish more people would be willing to say, I don't know, for Cam Ward after 1 year, because certainly Titans fans want to anoint him and say everything's going to be fine, especially with the new coaching staff and Daboll there as the offensive coordinator. And then there's plenty of haters that'll turn around and say Cam Ward sucks. I just think we don't know. And I love Carnell Tate as a draft pick. I hope that turns out to be great. But if Cam Ward doesn't develop, then all of a sudden, what do we have here? So I could see the Titans competing to be the worst team in the NFL this year if Cam Ward doesn't take a massive step forward.
I'm with you on that. And you and I both covered the Titans for a very long time. I covered the Titans for several years in the 2020s. And I always viewed this time of year for Titans fans as everything is going to be fine season, because everything's going to be fine. It doesn't matter if we have major question marks on the offensive line. It doesn't matter that our quarterback coming into year 2 showed a lot of good, but also a lot of bad. None of that matters, because everything's going to be fine right now. We fixed everything. All the issues are done. Boom. Just like that. I'm not willing to buy into that for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly say there's a chance that all the great acquisitions don't work and the Raiders are bad. All right, I don't want to talk about that anymore. We've talked enough. Yeah,
it's okay.
We're done. Nope. We're done. You know what? They're not going to be bad because they have an alien at quarterback. Speaking of aliens, it's World UFO Day, so we'll give you some of the best conspiracy theories in the NBA coming up next.
So now Felix Harper sends the motion, takes the snap, takes the pitch, looks over the middle, 2 receivers in the same spot, and that turns into a huge interception for Jacksonville. Lost opportunity, and what a return, what a pick, and what a change of momentum created by Isaiah Major.
Wow. You talk about bend but don't break.
My biggest concern is, can he be an on-ball playmaker? Yes, we saw it in high school, but we know that there's levels to this. So when you get to Kansas to have 38 turnovers and 38 assists, to me as a one-to-one guy, your sample size isn't good enough. Now, we know his big moments were extremely big. They were extremely loud. My man is an elite level scorer and will fill it up with the best of them. But I want to see if he can grow into a high-level playmaker.
Well, inside the 25 at the 23, Jerome Johnson's going to fire under pressure. He's got a man, and again, touchdown for the Sugar Skulls. Javion Lofton, his second of the night.
I mean, that is the type of drive that you want. The type of drive, just methodically down the field,
overcoming all those penalties and
all that. And sure enough, the best way to fix it is let's go score a touchdown.
When I think of Christian Pulisic and what he's going through now with this World Cup, can you talk a little bit about that pressure? And you seem like someone who can push a lot of that off, Christian, as well. But does that seep in a little bit?
The cameras are going to be pointing at your direction. You're going to be one of the ones interviewed the most in post-match. At this point now, it's like Christian is Christian, and he's going to deliver greatness, and we can't expect that to be every single minute like any other player.
Today, July 2nd, is World UFO Day. You're welcome to everybody that didn't know that and now knows it, much like on this show. I just found out that aliens are already here and they're living in the ocean. See, we are here to give you the truth you need to know about the greatest kids. Who knew? All this time I've been scared about. Yeah, okay.
An anglerfish? That's not from Earth.
But if that's an alien, who cares, right? Like all this time we spend watching Independence Day, that's what we think of an alien. It turns out that all you have to have is a fishing hook and you can take down a whole civilization from another planet. I'm not scared.
Well, have you seen Begonia?
Yes, I have.
Beware.
It's a great movie. It is a
Highly
great movie.
recommend.
All right, so it's a perfect opportunity. We're going to drive into the latest sports conspiracy theories. We'll go down the rabbit hole, figure out if the truth is really out there. First up, world fell in love with someone nitty on social media. We all know Freddie on social media seemed to be a fan of the German national team, enjoying all that America had to offer during the World Cup. But after the shocking defeat, Freddie immediately deactivated their account. This has some people thinking that this was an entirely advertising-led, FIFA-led. What do we think?
I don't buy into that. I do think that Freddie is a real person, and I think that for a couple of reasons. One, he met Ella Langley. Gordon Ramsay is giving him a hotel room. He's gotten all of these freebies and gifts from all of these celebrities, and I would think that all of these celebrities, at least one of their PR people or PR departments would know, like, oh, this is just a total and complete sham. Like, this guy is fake. He's just an American cosplaying as a German. Don't give him those things. So that for me makes it feel like, okay, well, just these celebrities are just giving this sweet German man something out of their own, the bottom of their hearts. The second reason is I choose to believe he's real because the story of Freddie is too precious and too pure and just too sweet for me to believe that there's any sort of wrongdoing or anything bad involved there. I have faith in humanity far too much to believe that our sweet, sweet, precious Freddie, who experienced Walmart chicken for the first time and a game at Auburn and Buc-ee's for the first time, is fake. It's just too precious and sweet.
Nah, we got on this one.
No.
Yeah, we got got. Look at Wendy's escalation. I mean, you just think about all of these people reaching out to Freddie, but look at the tweets. I mean, this feels like somebody that has absolutely grown up in American pop culture because the verbiage used just feels too clean, too perfect. And I hear you, celebrities fell for it, but come on, Borat. We all saw Borat, right? So FIFA hired somebody internationally and then paraded him around, and he made some money. We got. Congratulations, Freddie.
No.
Yeah. I want to know who got the free stuff though. That's who actually, I know the actor went in.
Freddie!
Right.
And all his friends in Germany.
The actor known as Freddie, but I don't know. I just feel like maybe does he have an agent? Did his commissioner get 10% of that hamburger? I don't know. This is amazing. Freddie, definitely not real.
How much would you have to get paid to eat chicken from Walmart?
$3, $4? Just make the chicken free and I do it. I mean, come on. This is a very localized poll, but there is a gas station on Gallatin Road in Nashville, Tennessee that has and it's headed from Rivergate into Hendersonville. Some of the best fried chicken I've ever had in my life. Gas station fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
Undefeated.
Chef's kiss. Boudin balls on the side of the road on an interstate in southern Louisiana. It's the best food you'll ever have in your life. Eat your heart out, Michelin stars. I'm
there
good.
We go.
Gas station fried food in the South, that's good eating.
Maybe we need to send Gordon Ramsay for the gas station fried chicken. All right, so let's go to the next one, okay? The NBA. The NBA has announced that the NBA Cup is moving from the bright lights of Sin City to the slightly dimmer lights of Hinkle Fieldhouse, home of the Butler Bulldogs. One of our producers, who asked not to be named for his safety, believes this is a conspiracy to quietly kill the NBA Cup. What say you, Caroline?
No, I don't believe that, because I believe that Butler is the Las Vegas of Indiana. So they're just going from one Vegas to another. I don't think you're entirely wrong, because literally no one cares about the NBA Cup. That we had an NBA Cup rematch in the NBA Finals and nobody talked about it because nobody cares. But I do think that this is the right move, though, because nobody in Vegas is going to care about a meaningless game in the middle of the NBA season. But you know who might care about going to watch Jalen Brunson and Victor Wembanyama in the NBA Cup? A bunch of college kids. Like, take them to Hinkle Fieldhouse. Hinkle Fieldhouse. Take them to Cameron Indoor. Take them to Rupp Arena. Like, have this as an opportunity to spread NBA fandoms to maybe places where there's not a ton of NBA fandom in, you know, college towns and iconic places and venues across America. I like this idea, honestly, because you're not going to be the coolest thing in Vegas. You can be the coolest thing in Indiana, though.
100%. I actually love this. I don't think this is a conspiracy to kill the NBA Cup. I think this is the beginning of letting college stadiums and arenas across the country bid on the NBA Cup to turn it into a big deal constantly. And Indiana, where basketball matters so much, give them more. The superstars of the NBA flocking to Indiana will matter far more, you're right, than it will flocking to Vegas. The superstars of the NBA flocking to the middle of Alabama will matter far more than it will. So I feel like that's absolutely flat out. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's actually an improvement. Look at us fixing you on a UFO day. We'll keep the conspiracies coming on this show, as we always do. That is absolutely spectacular. All right, coming up next. Can't wait. We'll go through some of the best of the weekend that we can't wait for. Bart and Fart will coming up next. Yahoo Sports Daily.
What's the difference between your show and their show?
I'm going to say we have the superior talkers because I'm on the show, and nobody's a better talker than me in all of professional wrestling, and that's just a fact. We just feel really special, and we feel very distinct, and I think the biggest reason why, more than anything else, is because when I'm watching All Elite Wrestling, I don't feel like I am watching somebody play a character.
The game will end on this play, a 2-point try. Anthony Garrett sends two. He's going to run. Now he's going to throw. Back of the end zone. Knocked away at the last moment. And it's Quentin Randolph, the wide receiver, playing D-back to win it for Vegas.
Wow. What a call. This is a call. If he puts a little more on it.
This is an ideal situation because in order to stay on the floor and get touches, you're going to have to defend. And DeBonta said this week that he knows his biggest flaw was his off-ball defense at BYU. And I can't wait to see him prove that he can do that at a high level in the NBA on top of everything else that's made him a #1 pick.
Ice, you mentioned John Wall.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be closer to John Wall than it is Kwame Brown.
For Washington. Let's hope so for DC.
I hope so. You know, with the stuff that he's got, if he can just throw the ball over the plate, which he has, you know, figured out the last, 2 months, he's going to be pretty much unhittable. I was at that start that he had against the Yankees that night. He came out just electric, just throwing, heater after heater, actually just challenging, guys in the strike zone. When you throw the ball that hard and you throwing it over the plate and challenging guys, it's going to be hard for guys to pick it up.
Check out Yahoo Sports coverage of the British Grand Prix this weekend. You can watch F1 practice and qualifying coverage for free on yahoosports.com and the Yahoo Sports app. Free practice 1 begins tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. with sprint qualifying taking place at 11:30 a.m. Race qualifying will take place on Saturday, the 4th of July at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The British Grand Prix itself will stream on Apple TV at 10 a.m. on Sunday, July 5th, I should say. For more, go to yahoosports.com/racing, yahoosports.com/racing. racing. That's something we're absolutely excited for here, Caroline, but it brings us to one of our favorite things to do. We take a look at some big events across the sports landscape, and we go with a can't wait, because we're going to decide whether an event is what we like to call a BART. You'll hear, if we say can't wait, you'll hear the voice of Bart Scott say this.
Can't wait.
And the opposite of a BART, if we can wait for it, if we don't love it, would be, of course, a fart. And you'll hear this. Now, it always gets me. It's every single time. Going to be plenty of that noise over the course of the weekend with 4th of July food. All right. So, considering we can't wait, let's start with the most American of all the sports, the Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest. 17-time winner Joey Chestnut will not only defend his title, he'll do so on probation after pleading guilty to charges stemming from a drunken bar fight. Caroline, BART or fart on the hot dog eating contest?
So the pageantry of it all, how many people flock to Coney Island to watch this, how it feels like it's synonymous with patriotism and the 4th of July. Oh, I love it. Wake up on 4th of July morning, get your cup of coffee, watch the hot dog eating contest. Like, it just feels like that's how you get your day started to celebrate America. So the pageantry is a BART. Now, the actual eating of the hot dogs, it's not a fart, it's a barf. Have you ever seen the 30 for 30 of Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi?
Yes.
It's a great one. My first summer at ESPN, when I was interning at ESPN, that 30 for 30 came out. So it was just all of the hype and all the hoopla, excitement for the debut of that 30 for 30. I watched that and I have never been the same woman. I am a different person now after watching that 30 for 30. The idea of it, the thought of it, talking about it, makes my gag reflex. I can't.
Well,
it's not for me. The sound, the thought, all gross. No, I can't.
It is so
disgusting.
Amazingly, for everything that I'm proud that I've accomplished in my entire life, for all the work that I did in music. I think the biggest TV show I played on music had 20 million people watching it. I've toured all over the world. I've been on ESPN. I've done all these different things. The thing that I have been most blown up for after participating in, sideline reporter, 4th of July hot dog eating contest. Unbelievably, I heard from people I hadn't heard from in 20 years after that. It is an American institution in a way that I never could have imagined. Being a part of the hot dog eating contest was an incredible honor for me for several years. But as the sideline reporter for it, I was about a foot away from Joey Chestnut and all of the other competitors that were out there trying to compete with Joey Chestnut constantly. The event itself is a BART. You're right. It is an absolute delight. It is America at its finest. The crowd is amazing. The heat, but it is a BART through and through. But just hang out with Joey for about 10 minutes afterwards. He turns a different color. And just watching his body go through digestion of what he just did to it, that's a fart. That's a fart. There's the weird smell while you're there is a fart. The wet bread, which splashes. They literally tell you when you're sideline reporting, be careful of the splash zone. And I didn't know what that meant until I was covered in wet bread. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Wet
Not to
bread?
mention that. Yeah.
That's
and
even
the noise.
grosser than the hot dogs.
The noise.
The smell.
The
It's
noise.
gonna be so hot.
I have so much respect for Joey Chestnut. Things to look for beforehand. The weather, as I said, the humidity can create a difference in how quickly and easily the dogs slide down. Also, how they're cooked in advance makes a big difference. How over or undercooked they might be makes a big difference. The way Joey Chestnut's able to bounce as he eats. Look, I'm an expert on the hot dog eating contest. Joey's going to hammer it. Shout out to my buddy Nick Weary. He's going to have a good showing. He always does. But most importantly, hammer the under on this one. Real quick, 4th of July
Getting
cookouts.
dizzy.
We just thank you so much. 4th of July cookouts. Part of fart on 4th of July cookouts.
This is my hottest food take. 4th of July, it's the best food holiday. It's the most underrated food holiday. Thanksgiving, I'm good. Thanksgiving food is just a bunch of mush covered in butter. Christmas, does anybody actually like fruitcake? Anybody? Like, oh, you know what? I'm hungry. What sounds good? A candy cane? No. 4th of July, though, it's hot dogs on the grill, it's burgers, watermelon, corn on the cob, potato salad, pasta salad. Everyone's grilling out. Everyone's kicking their feet up, having some barbecue chips, maybe a cold one, maybe a cold pop or two. Like, it is a great food holiday that does not get enough credit. I am so here for 4th of July food. I love 4th of July celebrations in general. Being at the lake, being outside, it's great.
Now,
Fine.
this is the best take you've ever had because you're 1,000% right. Don't miss me with turkey. I never want turkey, but I'll even eat a turkey dog. Like, hot dogs in general are a delight. I don't care what kind of dog it is. Any of the dogs that you're making, your weird friend that can't cook at all can somehow cook a hamburger deliciously on the 4th of July. They can't the rest of the year, but 4th of July, undefeated. And all of the sides are equally incredible. I want every single one of them. The desserts are top-notch. Like, there is nothing but eating on the 4th of July, and it is absolutely spectacular. It's the most can't wait of all the can't waits of the holiday food. You are 1,000% right. I would take 4th. We need to start a movement. I'm going to start a change.org to have 4th of July food at Christmas. It would make Christmas that much better. That's a fact. All right, back to sports. We've been all over NBA free agency today. NHL free agency, top names. We got Patrick Kane, Alex Ovechkin up for grabs. We'll see where they end up. Caroline, are you barting or farting NHL free agency?
You know, I think not all free agencies are created equal in every single sport. It just depends on the year. And this year, the free agency crop in the NHL, it's a fart. Like, yes, Alex Ovechkin's contract is expiring, but I don't think any of us expect any sort of like wild and crazy moves with Alex Ovechkin. Outside of him, it's just like a bunch of random guys who are free agents this year. But the potential trades that could come around free agency, now that is the bar. You have some big time names. Austin Matthews has been wanting out of Toronto for a very long time. He's been disgruntled. Connor Hellebuck is on the trading block. He wants out. Those are some bigger names, more recognizable names, especially after the gold medal game. So the trades could have the potential to be a BART. I mean, we've already seen it with the Kachuk brothers reunited in Florida. That's already been a blockbuster trade in the NHL. So free agency, the names, kind of a fart. Trades, the potential for chaos, that's a BART.
Yeah, I think you're 1,000% right.
Shell of the Patrick Kane that he used to be.
Yeah, this year's free agency doesn't necessarily feel the same, so I'll agree with you. I'm going to go fart on that one. All right, how about this? Messi suits up for Argentina in the round of 32 on Friday versus Cape Verde. What do we think? Bart or a fart?
If you say that anything involving Lionel Messi, whether it be a game, a television show, or a commercial, if you say that that's a BART, you're wrong. You're just straight up wrong. Your opinion is bad and you are wrong. Anything involving Lionel Messi is a BART, especially when we get the opportunity to watch. Thank you very much, Bart Scott. And when you get the opportunity to watch Lionel Messi, the greatest who has ever played the game of soccer, play the game of soccer, it's a BART, always.
Look, this one's easy for me. Bart, give it to me. It's a BART all day. Give me one more, Bart. I want one more.
Can't wait.
You know why? Because I'm at this spot now. Give me one more, Bart.
Can't wait.
Every single time I think that we're going to get a dud of a match, we don't. This World Cup continues, and I don't know why. And I'm not going to pretend to be an expert enough to know if this is usually the World Cup and I just wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry, soccer fans. I'm sorry I'm late to the party, but I am here now, and you got me. Hook, line, and sinker, you got me. The fact that over and over and over again, I mean, I was sitting there on the couch watching Belgium lose, and I was thinking, oh, my God, what's this mean for America's run? And then in a matter of 4 minutes, everything turned upside down. Every single time you need anything, it has been incredible. All right, let's get one more in here. Bart or fart, IFL showdown this weekend. Green Bay versus Orlando, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on July 5th. Two of the best teams in the East. What say you, Caroline? And it better be a Bart.
The IFL is always a BART. I mean, are you kidding? But especially the clashing of these two titans, Green Bay's high-flying offense against Orlando, who has been on an absolute hot streak. And also, their quarterback is putting together an MVP caliber season. And also, Fitzy on the call. So BART for all things involved.
Can't wait.
Yeah, look, if you've never watched a single indoor football league game, this is a good one to start with. Green Bay put up 83 points last week on a playoff contender. And Orlando's roster is filled with guys that you've watched play on Saturdays at massive, massive programs. So this is a huge game for playoff seeding for everybody involved.
Playoffs?
And yeah, I'll be on the call. It'll be a good one. So excited to do that Sunday, 7:30 on Yahoo Sports. Don't miss it. All right, you know what else we can't wait for? The Miz. Every time he steps on the mound, it is a delight. We'll break it down. Are we witnessing history? We'll talk about it next.
So now Felix Harper sends the motion, takes the snap, fakes the pitch, looks over the middle, two receivers in the same spot, and that turns into a huge interception for Jacksonville. Lost opportunity, and what a return, what a pick, and what a change of momentum created by Isaiah Major.
Wow. You talk about bend but don't break.
My biggest concern is, can he be an on-ball playmaker? Yes, we saw it in high school, but we know that there's levels to this. So when you get to Kansas to have 38 turnovers and 38 assists, to me as a one-to-one guy, your sample size isn't good enough. Now, we know his big moments were extremely big. They were extremely loud. My man is an elite level scorer and will fill it up with the best of them. But I want to see if he can grow into a high-level playmaker.
Well, inside the 25 at the 23, Jerome Johnson's going to fire under pressure. He's got a man, and again, touchdown for the Sugar Skulls. Javion Lofton, his second of the night.
I mean, that is the type of drive that you want. Type of drive, just methodically down the field,
overcoming all those penalties and
all that. And sure enough, you know, the best way to fix it is let's go score a touchdown.
When I think of Christian Pulisic and what he's going through now with this World Cup, can you talk a little bit about that pressure? And you seem like someone who can push a lot of that off, Christian, as well. But does that seep in a little bit?
You know, the cameras are going to be pointing at your direction. You're going to be one of the ones interviewed the most in post-match. At this point now, it's like Christian is Christian, and he's going to deliver greatness, and we can't expect that to be every single minute like any other player.
Pedro Martinez had two insane back-to-back seasons in 1999 and 2000. For comparison's sake, here's Pedro's year 2000 numbers compared to what The Miz is doing so far this season. So are we witnessing history and maybe even underreacting to it? Let's get into how the national baseball media has covered this insane season by The Miz. We're bringing in front office sports friend, reporter of the show, friend of the show, and reporter. I'll learn how to speak. Diehard Brewers fan, Ryan Glasspiegel. Ryan, what say you on the way that Miz has been covered so far?
It's tough for me to know how he's covered because I think the genesis for this segment was a few weeks ago. I tweeted that he was having a season along the lines of 2000 Pedro, as you just posted. And then I saw a couple weeks later, Buster Olney did a segment on SportsCenter, and he made the same comparison. And I made a little bit of like an allusion to Becky Lynch from WWE, where she's like, it's not just me saying I'm the greatest. Sports Illustrated says I'm the greatest women's wrestler of all time. So I did like, it's not just me saying it. Buster Olney's saying it. And then I was invited onto this show to talk about how great The Miz has been. So I think that certainly amongst Brewers fans, it's getting a lot of fanfare, but nationally, it might still be catching on a little.
So we have the comparison up with Pedro Martinez in his 2000 season, but the year prior to that, in 99, Pedro Martinez won the Triple Crown, struck out 313 batters that season. So that's not like 2000 was just an outlier. But 1999 and 2000, where Pedro Martinez is, seventh and eighth seasons in MLB, Jacob Misiorowski is doing this in year 2. Is that an important part of the story, in your opinion?
Well, that's a great point. And so it does seem to the national fan, it might seem a little bit preordained because, they brought him up last year, mid-year. Then he had that game where he outdueled Paul Skeens, and then they kind of just gave him like a cut the line pass into the All-Star game. And there were some people who weren't too excited about that. The Phillies chief among them, when Christopher Sanchez got snubbed. But it really wasn't preordained, because if you remember, he got pulled from the starting lineup at the end of last year into the playoffs and came out of the bullpen in that series against the Cubs and then against the Dodgers. So yeah, I think everybody really expected him to be an amazing pitcher, but he was having some control issues with walks, and whatever happened in the offseason, they seem to have gotten that under wraps. And he's just like, it's one of those things where when he gives up a base hit, you're like, oh my God, I can't even believe that happened. He's just that imposing.
So I'm going to ask you to put your work hat on and your fan hat on at the same time because you cover media. And I guess a philosophical question here. What would it take really for anything that the Miz does? When we're on LeBron Watch, USMNT, we're about to have preseason football, whether that makes sense or not. We know how much coverage it gets. What would it take for the Miz to become truly the leading national story on TV shows and shows like ours and shows like Get Up all over the country tomorrow? How does that even happen?
I mean, he'd probably have to throw a perfect game today, right? But see, here's the thing. Like he had a 9-inning complete game shutout with like 15 strikeouts, and they're commemorating that with shirts at the ballpark today in Milwaukee. It's just like, again, it's one of those things where he's facing Chase Burns, who is expected to be an all-star pitcher on the Reds, and the Brewers are minus 190 favorites the last I looked today. It's just, it's pretty remarkable. And it isn't even just like the Miz. Kyle Harrison is also in the top of like the NL Cy Young odds. He's in the top 4 or 5 candidates. He's got a 2.6 ERA, and it's actually even better than that. That should have an asterisk on it because he gave up 8 runs in 2 innings in the minor league stadium in Vegas against the A's, and it's like a bandbox, and the ball was just flying out of the park the whole series. So the Brewers have these systems of getting pitchers into performing better than what it would look like on other teams. It's kind of crazy. Like, you know, they came, I know they've won the division the last several years, but they came into the season still plus 280 underdog. The Cubs were favored to win the division at the beginning of the year, but the Brewers have a 5.5 game lead despite the fact that they traded the ace of the staff last year, Freddie Peralta, away to the Mets.
So we did this exercise yesterday, and honestly, it broke my brain. So I'm going to ask you to do it too, and I hope it doesn't break your brain nearly as much as it did mine. We obviously some great arms in Major League Baseball right now, Jacob Mizorowski included. So start, bench, cut. Those 3. The Miz, Tarek Skubal, Paul Skeens. And if you want to take your Brewers fan glasses off, be my guest.
No, I'm starting the Miz right now because Skeens has been struggling and Skubal is back now, but he had that elbow injury. I mean, the Miz is odds-on favorite to win the NL Cy Young. He's starting right now, whether I'm a Brewers fan or not. And I have watched all of his starts, so obviously I am biased, but I think even if I take my bias out of it, objectively, he's clearly having the best season of those 3, and he's going deeper into games than those other 2 this year. So I'm taking the Miz. Now, it gets difficult with Skubal and Skeens in terms of bench versus cut because I'm not like Dr. Neil Attaché. I can't just say what Skubal's elbow is going to look like the rest of the year. But if you're saying full health, then give me Skubal. If health is the mystery, or if you're giving me like the Brewers pitching lab with Skeens, then give me Skeens.
So with that being said, now we get to the controversy about who's going to start for the NL All-Star Weekend because Christopher Sanchez could be pitching in front of the Philly crowd, but some think that the Miz should start. So if you were in this situation, who would you start for the All-Star game?
Well, you guys have that graphic up there that it looks like the Miz is probably not going to pitch in the All-Star game because of how the Brewers plan to use them. And that's an interesting dilemma right here because the Brewers are looking out for themselves. They know that every time he pitches, they have a much better chance to win than if it is somebody else, especially somebody else at the back end of the rotation. So the fact that he is going to pitch 3 more times, including today before the All-Star break, probably makes him ineligible. And there is the idea, oh, well, you want to showcase him to the national fan and, get him in front of kids who love the All-Star game. But, the Brewers are looking out for the Brewers. I can't really blame them for that. So therefore, by process of elimination, and I don't know his starting schedule off the top of my head, but Sanchez in front of the home Philly crowd in Philly seems to make a lot of sense there.
Are you, as a Brewers fan, bummed to hear that?
Well, I like I said, I'm not because this is like a team where, look, Pat Murphy does these things that drive me kind of crazy with the lineup. And we're getting a little bit into left field here, but he's been platooning Andrew Vaughn and Jake Bauers, who are probably 2 of their 3 best hitters, based on the righty and lefty matchup. And I'm like, they should both be starting every day. I don't care if it's righty or lefty, but they're getting a bunch of days off. But you can't really take issue with anything that the Brewers do managerial wise or with the front office, because they are just performing so exceptionally with limited resources in a sport where, frankly, with what the Cubs spend, they should be wiping the floor with the Brewers every year. And nevertheless, the Brewers have persisted in the division more often than not over the last decade. So I guess it's like a cop-out answer, but whatever this team decides to do with their players, I'm good with, because I really can't argue with the results.
Do you believe this Brewers team is currently constructed can take down the Dodgers in a 7-game series?
They can, but I mean, I do think that they can. They could really use a power hitter, an additional one, particularly on the left side of the infield. But the Brewers starting pitching is just so formidable in a playoff series because you've got Miz, you've got Harrison, who I mentioned, and then Brandon Woodruff missed a bunch of time with a dead arm, but since he's come back, he's looked really good. And then they also have this young up-and-comer Logan Henderson, who's been on the IL for the last month or so, but every time he pitches, they basically win. So if you're looking at a starting rotation of Miz, Harrison, Woodruff, and Henderson, and they're all healthy, then they do have a chance to beat the Dodgers. That being said, I mean, I wouldn't make them the favorite, but if let's say they have like a 1-in-3 chance at winning that series, if you have a 1-in-3 chance at getting a base hit as a hitter, then you're a Hall of Famer. So I do think they have a chance. They certainly could do some things at the deadline to augment it. They have a loaded farm system. I would really love like a shortstop or a third baseman power hitter in short-term rental. But I do feel pretty good, all things considered, about their chances going into the rest of the year if they remain healthy.
So, I mean, we are now living in a Major League Baseball world where a lot of these small market teams are playing really well, especially based off of expectation, right? The Rays have the lead in their division. We have the White Sox, and I know Chicago's in a small market, but the White Sox are definitely the smaller team in the city of Chicago. Milwaukee, St. Louis, all of these small market teams, well above 500, to look like they're all playoff teams. Are we, if you want to put your sports media analyst mind on, are we as national baseball media doing a good enough job covering these smaller market baseball teams?
It's difficult for the national media to cover teams like the Brewers and the Rays and the Cardinals because Look, if you add up all of the local viewership and local attendance for Major League Baseball teams, I would make the argument that it might actually be a more popular sport than the NBA, given that the NBA aggregates these national audiences, but gets outdrawn by MLB on a local by local basis. But the common fan for baseball is much more in tune with his or her home team than caring about the national landscape of the sport. And so it's tough because you guys are looking at the metrics and viewership that you get for every individual segment and the clips and the highlights and on and on. And, ESPN, Fox Sports, same thing. They know by the quarter hour ratings what people are watching and paying attention to and what they're changing the channel from. I just don't, I'm impressed that you guys are doing this long of a Brewers segment. If you probably had like a second NBA guest to break down JAYLEN Brown again, that might do better views than what we're doing here. But that being said, as we get to the playoffs, some of these teams are going to be in the mix. I'm sure Fox executives, as we speak, are like putting like voodoo pins in the Brewers, praying they don't beat the Dodgers en route to the World Series. They'd much rather have the Dodgers against the Yankees and Dodgers going for a three-peat, two big markets. But I do think that the way that Rob Manfred is saying, we need more competitive balance. I'm not sure that's true. I mean, look at how some of these teams are outperforming the Cubs and the Mets, who are big markets. The Dodgers are really an outlier unto themselves, even in comparison to like the Yankees, the Mets, the Cubs, etc., because their TV deal just gives them tens of millions of dollars more than any other team. Plus, they have a stadium of like 55,000 people that they're basically filling 80 nights a year plus the playoffs. And so they're really an outlier. But I think if you take them out of the equation, the fact that clubs get so much control for years of these prospects and they basically have them locked up until they're about 30 years old, it really does give savvy front offices a chance to compete, at least going into the postseason.
As always, we appreciate your time. Read him on Front Office Sports, famous for his glass breaks. Ryan Glasspiegel, we appreciate your time, my friend. Thanks for hanging out. Enjoy the weekend and enjoy the game today.
Thank you for having me. This was great. Anytime.
It's great stuff from Ryan Glasspiegel, as always. And look, Caroline, I think it's interesting because he's right. At the end of the day, metrics are studied at all major media companies down to the second. So when people say, why don't they talk more baseball? Well, people aren't stupid. It's all about the metrics. So it's great that we're given the freedom to have these conversations, but nothing changes the fact that, these conversations don't always cut through.
Yeah, and I think we also have to understand media companies are for-profit organizations, and our job is to serve sports fans. So we want to appeal to the broadest set of sports fans. Myself and my Hoops 360 co-host Cassandra Neckley and I were talking about this yesterday, how, we might get some pushback when talking about Caitlin Clark on our WNBA show, but Caitlin Clark gets more views and more clicks far beyond any other player or any other topic in the WNBA. So it really is just us trying to serve sports fans in the best way that we can.
Yeah, well, I have a friend that worked on a WNBA show at another network, and she went into a show one day and they said, all right, we're leading with Caitlin, and Caitlin wasn't playing. She said, why are we leading with Caitlin? And the bosses looked at her very flat-faced, straight-faced.
People want Caitlin.
Because it's Caitlin and people will watch it. And at the end of the day, that frustrates fans so often. But I just remind people that none of that is by accident. So for somebody like The Miz to cut through, he's going to have to continue to do the impossible. So we're going to ask you to have a great holiday weekend. We're off tomorrow. So we'll be back Monday. Enjoy a safe 4th of July. Thank you for watching Yahoo Sports Daily.